if the U.S. side would like to come and see how we do our pipelines.
Tonight, reaction to President Joe Biden's Keystone XL order.
We're hoping that we can stop that as well.
The fight against pipelines continues south of the Medicine Line.
We're still negotiating with YTE to get a school built.
And the Kluane First Nation's 100-year-old request for a new school. Good evening, welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward. The death of Raphael Andre, a homeless Innu man in Montreal, is prompting a sparring match between governments. The question, who is responsible for social housing? One NDP critic says it was a Liberal government promise. Andre's body was found Sunday near a shelter he frequented, one forced by the pandemic to close overnight. During Wednesday's Indigenous Services briefing, Minister Mark Miller said all levels of government are responsible for bridging these gaps. But Jenny Kwan, NDP critic for housing, says First Nations housing issues need targeted funding. She says better housing was a two-time campaign promise for the Trudeau government.
I would remind Minister Miller this. It was his government, his Prime Minister, who promised Canadians that adequate housing is a basic human right. That was back in 2017 when they announced the National Housing Strategy. I'd like to ask the Prime Minister, where are they at now with respect to that commitment to Canadians? The very fact that Raphael Andre was homeless is because he doesn't have adequate housing.
And breaking news out of Ottawa tonight, Governor General Julie Payette has resigned. The decision to resign comes after an independent review into the behavior of Canada's Governor General has wrapped up. In a statement, Payette says, quote, "Everyone has a right to a healthy and safe work environment at all times and under all circumstances." It appears this was not always the case at the office of the Secretary to the Governor General. Tensions have arisen at Rideau Hall over the past few months, and for that, I am sorry. Still in Ottawa, federal officials were on hand today to give an update to COVID-19 vaccinations, where it was confirmed the Montreal homeless population will be receiving doses to battle outbreaks. Other updates include the feds saying the delay of the Pfizer vaccine deliveries to Canada will have minimal effects to Indigenous communities, and the next Pfizer shipment will most likely go to second doses for those already immunized. Meanwhile, the Moderna vaccine has been used in 160 remote Indigenous communities across the country, and those communities can expect second doses with the next shipment in February.
There's no disruption of shipment of Moderna vaccine to Canada. Every 3 weeks, it's coming like clockwork. And we expect, all of, those Moderna vaccine that's been targeted for northern Indigenous communities, they continue to come every 3 weeks.
In northern Ontario, the Thunder Bay District Health Unit is reporting a record number of COVID-19 cases. 56 new cases of the virus were announced in the district on Thursday. Of those 56 new cases, 43 are connected to the Thunder Bay Correctional Centre outbreak. Another 8 of the cases announced today are part of an outbreak at the Thunder Bay District Jail. There are currently 126 active cases in the region. The Ministry of the Solicitor General could not say how many active cases there are between the two jails. As we've been reporting, there have been several outbreaks of COVID-19 in Saskatchewan correctional institutions, and many prisoner advocates are asking when will vaccines be offered to people serving time in the province. In a written statement, the Saskatchewan Ministry of Health says they have no plans to vaccinate inmates yet and are focusing on healthcare workers and elderly residents. The head of the Saskatoon Tribal Council says he thinks it's crucial for prisoners to get vaccinated, especially if they might be released soon.
I don't know what the overall outcome is going to be for the level of urgency for people that are incarcerated, but I think it's a necessity, because when people are released from incarceration, if they have COVID or they're asymptomatic or symptomatic, they're potentially going back to our First Nations communities.
New American President Joe Biden was sworn into office on Wednesday, and one of his first actions was to cancel the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline. The pipeline would have sent Alberta bitumen to the U.S. Chris Stewart has a reaction from some Indigenous owners in the oil industry.
New President Joe Biden is implementing a new climate change policy. On his first day, Biden canceled the $10 billion Keystone Pipeline project. It was already under construction in Alberta at a cost of at least $1.1 billion. Indigenous business owners are saying that the cancellation will mean more hard times.
It's all about supply and demand. And without any pipelines leaving the province, the demand is there, but we can't get the supply out to it, right? Whether it's tidewater or down south to the Americans. It'll have a big impact, right? So now there's going to be less drilling rigs, less opportunities for us.
The oil industry is still reeling from the price recession from 2014. He says the cancellation means more projects will stop.
We're probably banking on that pipeline going through, and now that it's not, I'm sure there's going to be projects that are going to be canceled or mothballed or put on the shelf for a while.
Judy Desilets owns Top-Notch Oilfield Contracting, based in British Columbia. She wants the new president to change his mind and allow the pipeline. She says he does not understand the high standards that are used for construction of the pipeline.
If the U.S. side would like to come and see how we do our pipelines and take care of our lands at the same time as thriving in industry, in the oil and gas industry, I'd welcome them to come and take a look at exactly how we take care of our land as Indigenous person and a business owner.
Sean McDonald says Energy East should be constructed. Energy East would build a pipeline from Alberta to the East Coast. The project was canceled in 2017.
In my mind, for a good economic recovery, if Energy East was to go through, we'd have our taxes back. We'd be all paying taxes on it again, the royalties, not to mention, and the equalization payments.
The Alberta government is asking Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to impose economic sanctions if Biden does not reverse his decision. Failing that, the existing pipeline could be sold for scrap to recoup some of the construction cost. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
Meanwhile, some of our relatives to the south are thanking President Joe Biden for rescinding the permits for Keystone XL. The pipeline would have ran right through the territory of the Cheyenne River Tribal Council. That's Joy Braun's territory, and KXL is a pipeline she has been fighting against for over a decade. Joy joins us now. Joy, good to see you. What was your reaction to President Joe Biden signing the executive order to cancel Keystone XL?
Oh, I was really happy. I was actually in the doctor's office getting my COVID vaccine, so I couldn't scream or anything, but I really wanted to.
It came on your birthday there too, almost, so.
Yeah, it's a good birthday present.
You've always called this the zombie pipeline because it continues to be resurrected and was just 4 years ago by then President Donald Trump. Do you feel this is the final nail in the coffin?
I think this is definitely putting that nail in that coffin. Oil sands prices aren't, they're not doing what they need to do to make any kind of money. And the other thing with that is, you know, this is a climate changer as far as, you know, and it's good that we're starting to get leaders in office that recognize that climate change is a real thing.
That all said, what do you think this decision by the new president means for pipelines like Line 3 and Dakota Access Pipeline, which is still before the courts?
Well, I hope that we can get more news regarding Line 3. Line 3 needs a new environmental impact study done. One hasn't been done for it. because it's been changed so much on its route, and of course, obviously a lot bigger. So we definitely need to stop Line 3. With Dakota Access Pipeline, right now it's running illegally. It doesn't have the easement or the permits that it needs to run. And so we're hoping that we can stop that as well.
Well, Joy, always good to see you. Happy to hear that you got your vaccine. Appreciate you taking some time for us.
Thank you.
We'd like to hear what you think about the cancellation of the Keystone XL pipeline. Here's how you can continue the conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca or leave a comment on our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Time now to step aside for a quick break. Still to come, decades-long calls for a new school continue to go unanswered.
Not that you can't do homeschool, but to have a school experience is not really possible for high schoolers.
Welcome back. Saskatchewan First Nation will be getting $127 million for a land claim that dates back over 100 years. The Mosquito Grizzly Bears head Kluane First Nation lost over 5,800 hectares of land in 1905 to the federal government. The case has been in the court since 1996. In 2020, the federal government offered the community more than $127 million if they voted to surrender the land. Instead, leadership decided to go to the Specific Claims Tribunal. Chief Tanya Aguilar-Antman says they are satisfied they did not have to agree to surrender the land.
In this day and age, Canada was still asking Mosquito Grizzly Bear head Kluane to voluntarily surrender those lands. And so we said no. As leaders, we're like, no way will we ever go to our people in this day and time and era and ask our people to vote to voluntarily surrender lands when we, through the years, have always said we never surrendered.
To another long wait in the north, a small First Nation in the Yukon is shrinking because the local school can't accommodate high schoolers. Its chief is calling on the Yukon government to build a new school with more teachers, something the community has also been waiting for 100 years. Here's Sarah Connors with more on that story.
What was your best thing that happened at school today?
Samara Van Lieshout is a 6th grade student at this K-12 school in Hanks Junction. Her family moved here 4 years ago so her older brother could attend the high school, because there isn't one in their home community of Burwash Landing, an hour and 20 minutes away.
Not that you can't do homeschool, but to have a school experience is not really possible for high schoolers.
Samara and her brother used to attend this 2-room school in Destruction Bay, a 10-minute drive from Burwash Landing. Most students that attend school here are from Kluane First Nation. There are only 2 teachers and 11 students currently enrolled. With such low numbers, the school can't fully accommodate students in the higher grades, forcing families like the Van Lieshouts to move to Hanks Junction or Whitehorse so their children can experience high school.
It can be really disruptive. Like for our children, it was disruptive. We have 2, so we had a much younger child, and so that big move, when everything is, when they love their life, it can be really difficult.
Mom Diet says the move can also be hard for parents.
Parents have to look for other work. You have to secure housing. If you want to still maintain your home in Burwash, you still have to do that as well.
Bob Dixon is the chief of Kluane First Nation in Burwash Landing. For years, he's been pushing for a new school with more teachers. He says around 20 families have moved in recent years.
There are families that move to Whitehorse and they find, employment there, and they find, their kids fit in, but there's more activities in Whitehorse.
And they're not coming back.
When children move away to go to school somewhere else, that affects the kids in the school here because our population can never grow.
Dixon says the First Nation and the Yukon government are in talks of building a new school in 2023, but he's skeptical.
My great-grandfather wrote a letter to YTG back in 1917 and says we need a school here in the community. It's 2021 now, and we're still negotiating with YTG to get a school built.
Dixon says in 2019, the Yukon Department of Education told him a teacher could be assigned for high school students at the existing school in Destruction Bay. However, they rejected a request for a third teacher without stating why. I reached out to the department for more clarification, but no one was available for comment. While the Van Lease-outs are stuck living away from their First Nation for now, they're hopeful a new school will someday be a reality and that they can return with daughter Samara.
Hopefully, we will be going home, and like she said, maybe I'll be the first one to graduate from Burwash.
Sarah Connors, APTN National News, Hangs Junction.
Time for another quick break. Still to come, we'll check in on an intense training program.
If I'm going to be in this kind of role as a helper, I need to be walking the walk, doing the work.
Welcome back. Time now to take a look at our photo of the day. This pic was from Rick Wilson and was taken while he was out riding on his skidoo in northern Manitoba around Molson Lake. He stopped and took this beauty. That's a tight trail to get through there. And you can send us your photos, email your shot to share@aptn.ca, and we'll do our best to get them on the air. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the east coast, -4 with snow for St. John's, 0 and flurries in Halifax. -19 in Kuujjuaq, 8 below with snow in Nain. -12 with snow for Chibougamau, 10 below with snow in Sept-Îles. -6 and flurries for Toronto, 9 below with snow for Sault Ste. Marie. Sunny and -13 in Thunder Bay, -16 for Sioux Lookout. -19 in God's Lake, 16 below and partly cloudy for Norway House. Snow and -11 in Winnipeg, -9 for Dauphin with snow. 8 below in Regina, snow and -9 for Saskatoon. -11 with snow in Meadow Lake, 24 below in Uranium City. Over to northern Alberta, -22 with snow in High Level, 8 below and flurries for Fort McMurray. -4 and sunny skies for Lethbridge, -6 and snow in Edmonton. Sunny on the west coast, 5 above in Vancouver, +6 in Victoria. -9 in Fort Nelson, 7 below in Prince George. -17 for Old Crow, 9 below in Whitehorse. -28 in Yellowknife, 21 below with snow for Norman Wells. -24 in Sax Harbor, 29 below in Colville Lake. -27 in Chesterfield with snow, 21 below and flurries for Cambridge Bay. -15 in Resolute, -1 in Pangerton. Studies are in full swing for an intensive program that trains Northern Indigenous counselors and coaches. Charlotte Moore-Jacobs caught up with 2 students to see what change the courses have already made in their own lives.
It's serious subject matter to match the severity of the current system facing remote communities.
The basis of Western society is individualism, right? Like, we have to do it all ourselves. It's for us, and that goes against everything true to our humanness, our core identity. We have always had to work together. We have always had to do everything together to survive. To me, the foundation of decolonization is relearning how we can relate to each other again.
Raven Sibiston believes in community healing They're a student in an all-Indigenous cohort being trained in coaching and counseling in Yellowknife. Sibiston says their first semester, focused on coaching, was a boot camp in accountability.
Bring me back to who am I, what am I doing, you know? If I'm going to be in this kind of role as a helper, I need to be walking the walk, doing the work, you know, managing my mental health, managing my physical health, my spiritual health, taking care of those things so I can show up and I can keep showing up. And
the 18-month program is delivered by Rhodes Wellness College in Vancouver, an Indigenous counseling business, Dene Wellness Warriors, operating in the Northwest Territories. Graduates will be registered under the Professional Counselors Association of Canada. Lindsay Auger says the structure of last semester's coaching unit that had students practicing by coaching their peers helped the cohort connect with one another, despite only meeting virtually.
We're all learning from each other, like how you start a session, how you should close a session. There's different tools that counselors use when they are counseling somebody.
The program has been healing, helping Auger in reclaiming identity.
Yeah, I grew up down south, and it's actually helped me understand my dad better, because my dad went to residential school, and I just started finding this out.
Same for Sibiston, who says too often there is shame for being who you are and where you come from.
how we place ourselves in the world is something I want to bring into my practice. Spending the first 5 years of my life in Lilikwe, and then being thrown into very colonial Victoria, BC, and just into this vastly different world. Feeling that disconnect from my identity, from my homelands.
The students will learn about various counseling techniques this semester before moving on to Foundations of Wellness in the spring. Charlotte Mort-Jacobs, APTN National News, Yellowknife.
Now here's Nation to Nation host Todd Lamarand with a preview of what's coming up tonight.
U.S. President Joe Biden did as he promised and killed the Keystone XL pipeline. I speak to Chief Alvin Francis. He's president of an organization that wanted to buy a share of that pipeline. He says it would have improved his community. As well, Ariel Deranger of Indigenous Climate Action joins me. She says any non-renewable energy project comes with too high a climate cost. And I speak to Ryerson professor Pam Palmater. This in the wake of Derek Sloan being booted from the Conservative caucus for taking a contribution from a well-known white supremacist. She says his removal is just a start for the Conservatives. That's all coming up in just a few minutes. See you then.
Looks good as always, Todd. That is all the time we have for your APTN National News. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for tuning in. Stick around. Todd's up next with Nation to Nation. We'll see you back here tomorrow.